Innovation is a really big thing in the MMO space, let alone the gaming industry. When a new game is announced, what are some of the selling points of that game? The things that that game are doing different from others in its genre. This is exactly why people have been fed up with games like Call of Duty, 2K, Madden for years. Some of y'all try to put Pokemon in that category when Power World came out, but I'm not gonna let y'all do that. Pokemon still heat. So in the most recent Ashes of Creation development update, we got to see the fighter class. Now we saw abilities, we saw the skill tree, we saw the weapon tree, but we also saw something that I don't believe is getting the proper attention it deserves, and that's destructible environments. During the fighter showcase, Steven ran us through all of the fighter abilities as usual, but then we had another 40-ish minutes or so of exploration of the Riverlands and gameplay. Now, as they continue through the Riverlands, they come across these goblins who have these tents, which happen to be destructible. I'll play the clip so you can see and hear it for yourself.
Something that I have not seen happen really very often as part of MMO level design is destructible assets. We have that in and running. I want to see if I can destroy these two tents here real quick. Oh, wait! Somebody else destroyed them.
They just got hit by the cone of cold?
I think so. Oh, that was good.
Okay, cool. But my MMO that I play daily is the best. I'm sure it is. We don't get features like this all of the time in MMOs though, especially one that's shaping up to be as successful as Ashes of Creation. What's really cool about this though is that based on the track record of Intrepid, I can't imagine that this is going to be the only type of destructible environment that we see. And I highly doubt that they're not working on implementing more of this into Ashes of Creation. If this is something that is received well and done well, then I can almost guarantee we will be seeing more of this feature because something like this really does a lot for the immersion of the game, and features like these can really enhance your experience. You might have to be careful about how much destruction you cause for a certain quest, or you might have to destroy everything, or it simply could just be there for the aesthetic. I don't necessarily think having a destructible environment takes away from your journey, but more so adds on to it because it's exciting, it's spontaneous, and it's something to do. I guess it all depends on what you want to focus on at that time. For example, if you were ever into first-person shooter games when that genre was popping off about 10 to 15 years ago, then you were either Team Call of Duty or Team Battlefield. Relax, I'm not gonna do an old joke. I'm taking the high road. New year, new me. For now. The two games were very different, but both have strong audiences. If you were like me, where you cared about running around a smallish map, really focusing on the attachments on your guns and perks, and just trying to slay out a ton of kills before the game ended, then you were Team Call of Duty. Now, for a more personalized experience, where you could get in jets, tanks, other types of vehicles, parachute out of the sky, blow up buildings, and pretty much do the craziest things that you'd expect in a type of war game, then of course, you were on Team Battlefield. Now, both games have their place, and it's tough to say which is better. Come on, man. You and I both know Call of Duty was better. Don't even play with me. Can you imagine actually turning on your PlayStation 3 or Xbox 360 and loading up Battlefield? What kind of person are you? You don't make good life choices. Trust me on this. We all know Call of Duty's winning. And if you have a problem with this, you can see me on Nuketown about it. But what they did at the time, they did it well, and their audiences appreciated it. The point that I'm making here is that I don't think Ashes of Creation needs to let us go crazy with destroying nodes, castles, ships, freeholds, homes, right, in full, because we already know we have that to an extent. But the fact that we're getting more of this feature in the open world is gonna do a lot for the player base. A few videos ago, I talked about how dynamic changes and naval content are going to be a great and memorable part of Ashes of Creation, and I'll address that point here again. If the world that we're inhabiting is dynamic and things continue to change due to weather, story arcs, and so on, what does that do to the destructible environment around us? When you put features like this together in a game, especially in MMO, you are lining yourself up to have an innovative product that's only going to expand over time. Now, we already knew this because of the node system, but as Ashes of Creation continues to develop, it's almost as if they're becoming their own competitor because nothing on the market is even close to what they're doing. I understand that the dynamic destructibility of ships is under consideration from Intrepid, but with how they go about Ashes of Creation, I really don't see us not getting a feature like that. The way that I look at Intrepid these past few years is that they're going to do whatever it takes to make the game that they envision. Steven is very particular about the development of his game, and rightfully so. I believe the things that we do see them do, they usually try to take it a step further. For example, remember when we saw the Gathering showcase a few years ago and we found out you could deforest an entire area? It's features like that that I think that are going to set this game apart. And when you make a change for the better in several places in an already very hype MMO, then I think you're going to have a very different product from the rest. I think it'd be insane to not have dynamic destructibility of ships. They'd be leaving money on the table. We have yet to see an Alpha 2 version of node destruction, castle sieges, housing destructibility, freehold destructibility, and ship destructibility. It'd be cool for something like this to be covered on a stream because I'm sure that this goes deeper. We saw a tank get destroyed in the last showcase, but what other mob buildings are we going to experience throughout the game? What about the Underrealm? What can be destroyed down there? We literally have so many possibilities because there's so much of the game that we still haven't seen yet. When you put all of these things together, you're going to get something very special. And something like this is needed more than ever with the current state of MMORPGs. The point that I'd like to drive home here is that if you've been following Ashes of Creation, then you see how they've continued to innovate more and more. Each of the class showings are getting better and better. The questing seems as if it'll be more memorable compared to what we're used to due to the systems implemented within it, and we continue to get new content and things to be excited for as we draw closer to Alpha 2. Change isn't always good, but it's not always bad. You have to continue to change and innovate over time because people will get bored and then they'll look for something new. I think Intrepid has got it in the bag though, and I have no doubt we'll continue to see that in the coming showcases leading up to Alpha 2. Our world continues to move too quickly. As soon as something comes out, we're already on to the next thing. So remember, if you want to stay ahead of the curve, there's really only one option: innovate or die.